Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when we feel like it o'clock. I'm Pearl of Wisdom, and you're listening to my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. And I'm going to be talking about the whole Jack Eichel situation in Buffalo, and in Buffalo and the Sabres in general here right away. I am looking towards, well, first of all, let me tell you about a letter I got, okay? Guido goes down to the letter mailbox. Everybody knows this by now. If you don't know, it means you're new, so you should probably subscribe. He goes down to the letter mail room, pour out the letters. Everybody does the Perlo dance. We all dance around. And there's much frolic and glee. And then we pull some of the letters. We read them, all the letters. We read all the letters. But we take ones that we think that apply to what we're going to be doing. In this case, Betty Barshis from Muir Lake, Wyoming, writes, she wrote a bunch of things. She told me a lot of pumpkin pie recipes, and which I put down in my journal. We all enjoyed them and stuff like that. But she also asked, what's going on with Eichel, Jack Eichel? She's a Buffalo Sabres fan, apparently. Freaking out like that. And I thought, that's a really good topic. So we're going to talk about that today. I've heard a lot of different things. If you went on the Twitter, there's people that are slamming Jack Eichel for coming out like that, saying, the spoiled brat, rich kid, whatever, rich guy, be happy you're on a team and all that kind of stuff like that. Then there's people that are like, I kind of get it. I mean, he said he's been there 5 years and he's sick of losing. So I take it kind of on both sides. I like the way Ralph Krueger handled it. Ralph Krueger is the coach, and he's a fantastic coach, actually. I thought they'd be better than they were last year. He said, I don't mind somebody getting upset. And he didn't even slam him for doing it in the media. He said, but what are we going to do about it? That's the question. Being upset is one thing. But what are we going to do about it? He didn't even say, what are they going to do about it? He said, I want you to talk to me about what we, as a team, are going to do about this. Leads me to believe that Ralph Krueger knows there's something kind of incorrect about this culture here in Buffalo. And I would have to think that it likely is. So what are they going to do about it? Well, you've got a couple years before Eichel. Eichel has to be there. He's got to be getting $10 million a year. But 3-4 years from now, if things don't change, you can pretty much be rest assured Mr. Eichel's going to be on. You also have an ownership group that has been shown to be very impatient in the past. Honestly, I think that's the main problem here. This team never had a chance to totally rebuild the way it was supposed to. He had the previous general manager, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, sorry about that, but tried to pick up guys like Kane. They tried to do this quick rebuild. And in doing so, did not really create a culture. And if you want to know why teams, when they do rebuilds, and why people keep their first round draft picks, it's not just because of, these players are cheap. If you don't know, if you get prospects, they don't make more than $1 million somewhere dollars, just under $1 million for the first 3-4 years. So if you can get them in there and they can play on your lineup for that price in a capped world, it's huge. That's one of the reasons, but it's also so you can start taking players, building them from the ground up, and building a culture in your room. What do I mean by culture? I mean a positive culture and a competitive culture. You get a couple years to find out if that player is going to be a whiny baby or if he's going to be, towing the line, as I like to say, rowing the same way that you want to see them moving. Bringing in guys like a young Kane when they did, and I understand it. He's a young guy. Look what he's doing in San Jose. But he was known for having an attitude problem. And they traded somebody like Myers, who was a homegrown kid in Buffalo. Like they drafted him and brought him up and brought this reckless sort of dude in. And I think that's really what's been the issue. They haven't built a culture here. Now, that being said, you don't have time to rebuild, do you? No. Now we have to build a team from players by bringing in new players. The Carolina Hurricanes, Tom Dundon did something fantastic. He allowed a few players go. One of them that's on the Buffalo roster here, by the way, and that's Skinner. And they gave him up for virtually nothing. And a lot of people were wondering, why? Why would you give up Jeff Skinner for that? He scored 30, 40 goals before. Dundon's answer was, we needed to change the losing culture in this organization. It's not, he said, it's not Jeff Skinner's fault, but losing gets in the subconscious. And when we get teams can get comfortable with it. Do you remember O'Reilly said something to that nature? He basically said, it seems like the team has gotten comfortable with losing. But he said it like, I even got comfortable over time. He got slammed for this in Buffalo and got traded out of Buffalo. Of course, went off and won a cup with St. Louis. He was just being a team guy, didn't want to point fingers, so he put himself in the group. Never should have got traded. Bad move. So here we are. Here's Jason Botterill. By the way, Jason Botterill, general manager of the Buffalo Sabres. He was sought after by a lot of teams. In Pittsburgh, he was lauded for being just a brilliant hockey mind, okay? And it's not getting better in Buffalo? They bring in Ralph Kruger. I saw him in Edmonton. He was a great hockey coach. They never should have got rid of him. All of these should mean that you're getting a better team, having a better organization. You need to change the culture, okay? And this is the year, I think, that they have an opportunity to do so. First of all, he gave Marcus Johansson a couple-year contract year before last. He's got one more year left on his contract. That is a guy who, everywhere he's been, has been known for his character and competitiveness. See, if we keep him for another year, that's great. I think you bring Wayne Simmons back. Got him from Philadelphia. He wants to be in Buffalo. He's a new voice. He has played in organizations that have had, some sorts of a success. He's played in the NHL, and he wants to be there. Give him $2.5 million. Here's the one good thing. Jimmy Vesey, Zemgus Jurgensen, Johan Larsson, all of these guys are UFAs. They've been there a while, and it's time for them to move on. Not because of necessarily their skill sets or whatever. It's just they've been in a losing way too long. Probably they want to go. The good thing about all this is Buffalo has crazy cap space this year. $36 million in cap space. So what do I do from here? I let those guys go. We're going to fill out those rosters. We're going to go out. We got to pick up players that are not too old because we need a sustainable roster as well. We also need to bring in a culture as well. We want guys that are going to be around a while. I know this is going to sound odd because I just said that you need to build from the bottom up and have those homegrown players, but we don't, in Buffalo, they don't have that luxury right now. They got to get this team better, and they got to get this team better now. First of all, owners pushing towards it. Fans are losing their minds. And Jack Eichel just came out and said what he said, and he's right. It has to be done now. Good thing you got a brilliant mind like Botterill to do it. So here's first of all, I thought maybe I looked towards Toronto and possibly trying to bring in Nylander. And the guy I was going to look to trade was Ristolainen. Again, one of those guys that have been around this losing area. Sounds like he's kind of whiny. I just don't think Toronto is going to go with that. They are analytics type team, and Risto's analytics just don't look good. Whether you're an analytics guy or not, it's not concerned right now. I don't think they're going to go with that. And I don't think that anything else off this roster besides Yoki Haru. By the way, Toronto needs good defense really bad. That's why I'm bringing this up. And they also need cap space to get more defense really bad. A guy like Yoki Haru, you might be able to bring Nylander back. The problem is I'm a little concerned about how Nylander is going to work in Buffalo. Not to mention, they're in the same conference. A little bit difficult to make that trade. I looked at possibly San Jose. I know they're looking to get younger. But they just signed Carlson. I think that they're going to do a quick rebuild. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think they're going to get rid of players that we would want, like Hurdle and players like that. I seriously doubt it very much. I looked at St. Louis. There is one possibility there with St. Louis. I think they really have to sign Peter Angelo. They are a team that likes to recycle their players and stay without having to do rebuild. They have a system there where they never have to rebuild because they have a market that demands that they make the playoffs every year. Jaden Schwartz has been has been out there as a possibility. Now he's 29 years old. He's a little older than I'm looking for here, but he's got a great attitude. He's got the kind of compete you're looking for. Now, what am I saying that we trade for this? I'm saying that Buffalo Sabres trade their first-round draft pick this year. I know it's tough, but it's the best option I believe they have. You could trade a guy like Olofsson and maybe get back another Olofsson. But with all this cap space, I think the only way they're going to get good young players in return, and you can sign Olofsson, who hasn't been around that long and saw all the losing. You can sign him, and my pick is the New York Rangers. I know it's interdivision, but it's a little different. The reason why I say the New York Rangers is they've got a lot of depth. They've got expansion coming up, and they're going to lose some players. They're going to lose some good players, and they're going to have to get rid of them anyways. And of course, we have the big problem of, for them anyways, having Georgiev, Shesterkin, and of course the King, Lundqvist. Lundqvist doesn't sound like he's going anywhere. It looks like Georgiev has got to be the one to go. They want to get a decent return. They've said, we're not just going to give them up for nothing. Which brings me to my next point. Buffalo needs a kingpin goaltender. If they don't make this trade to get a Georgiev and say they have a couple other guys. They have Julian Gauthier coming up. They have Philip Heidel that they need to get room for, a centerman. It's been talk all over the place that Strome is on his way out. Strome is a good two-way young player. He's only 23 years old. I would take Strome, Buchnevich, who never seemed to be able to fit in there for whatever reason. I don't know why. Strome and Georgiev for the number one pick. So you get, Georgiev looks like he's going to be a number one goaltender. You can let, by the way, in this scenario, I'm buying out Carter Hutton's last year of his contract. Linus Ullmark and Georgiev as the goaltenders. You bring in Strome, and you've got Buchnevich, Strome, and Reinhart on your second line. Or Skinner, Strome, and Reinhart, and you put Buchnevich with Eichel and Olofsson. That's a solid number one, number two. You've got depth finally. Then you take Johansson, put him with Cahoon, and we're going to look for a right winger in free agency, which we're going to pay a little more for. Who that could be, you're going to have to pay a little more. Buffalo's had a difficult time right now. It doesn't look good in the media. Seems like there's character issues in the room. There is a guy that I'd be going heavy after, and that is Hoffman out of Florida. He lived in the Ottawa area for quite some time. Moving closer to that area would probably be a boon for him. We've got plenty of cap space. We could offer him $7 million a year for 6 or 7 years. Is it steep for a player like him? I suppose, but he's a consistent 30-goal scorer. Put Olofsson on the second line with Buchnevich and Strome. Put Hoffman up with Eichel, a guy who can score finally on Eichel's line, with Skinner, a passer who can pass to both of them. And and then have Reinhardt down with Strome and Cahoon, and now you've got a solid 3 lines. You've got a goaltender. Now the question is a lot of people are going to ask me this: isn't that a lot to give up for the Rangers to give up for a first overall pick? Not really. A lot of those guys are going to go in expansion anyways. The closer it gets to expansion, the less value they're going to have, especially a guy like Georgiev. I don't think they're going to get a first-round pick for Georgiev, and certainly not in the top 8. With this, I'm saying their first overall pick will only go if they don't win if they don't get a win in the lotto, okay? This is based on the fact that they're picking 7th and 8th. There are guys in the 7th and 8th spot that would be huge for the Rangers very, very soon. They'd be able to solve their problem of losing a player to an expansion that's really good without getting value, especially Georgiev. Get a very highly considered high prospect that could be in the top 6 very soon, probably in the next year or two. So you say, well, why wouldn't Buffalo just take it? Because we're talking about winning now. That's why. Guaranteed players, guaranteed in the lineup, guaranteed depth. This would give them a very good chance to be a playoff team this year. And with all the they'd still have tons of cap space. And with expansion coming, there's going to be a lot of cheap players available there. If one of these guys is not working out, they can trade him, bring in another guy, bring in some more character. They can interchange a little bit and stay relevant right now. Keeps their owner happy that they're in the mix. Keeps the fans happy that they deserve finally to have something, and you keep your Eichel happy, which is very important. They lose him, and this team is back to square one all over again. This is all about being competitive, keeping Eichel, and I don't blame him. I'd be out of there too, honestly. I don't know if I'd be as vocal as him, but I certainly would be pointing out that I'm out of here if you don't fix this right away. So yeah, this is what I'm doing. As far as defense is concerned, again, we already talked about Dahlin, superstar, Risto. I actually like the kid. He's played well for a very young kid. We keep him going. McCabe, Jokiharju, Miller, and Montour, with Georgiev, who I think will be a number 1 very quick, fighting with Linus Ullmark, who we likely won't lose in expansion. I didn't even get into who we may lose in expansion with this, but it's probably going to be a fairly decent player, but that's okay. We can fill that hole afterwards. The fact of the matter is, we need to get better now, and I think doing something like this would accomplish that. That's my full 42%, boys and girls. I need to do something for Mr. Eric Card, who had a comment down there in the comment section. Hadn't heard him for a while. So I got some EC pearls for you. Helen grinded them up. Always grinding them in the morning. We just sit there in the morning after we do letters and we just Send out the pearl energy to the land. But when we do these videos, we like to send them out to individuals. Tell me what you think about Buffalo here. Tell me what you think about what Eric Eichel had to say in the comment section. I'll send you some pearls. I'll send you a My NHL Pearls of Wisdom necklace helicoptered to your door in the Perlocopter by either Hernandez or Melissa. And I'll also talk to you. Have a great day. Lots of love to you.